The story of Alex Pereira of Poatan is unlike anything we have ever seen in MMA history, in UFC history, in combat sports history, because in just 7 UFC fights, he has become a two-weight world champion. He defeats Jiri Prochazka in the second round of the UFC 295 main event to become the 205-pound light heavyweight undisputed champion of the world. How did we get here? Four former UFC world champions are now on the list of victims of Alex Pereira. It is unbelievable what we have gotten to witness in literally 2 years. November 6th, 2021, we see the debut of this former Glory Kickboxing phenom, a two-weight world champion there. Just as of last week, a Glory Kickboxing Hall of Famer, someone who had beaten Israel Adesanya twice in kickboxing. He made that transition into MMA, had found success early on, get signed to the UFC, tons of eyeballs, tons of hype around this man who could be the person to dethrone Israel Adesanya from the UFC middleweight throne. And he debuts and dominates Andreas Michailidis, flying knee knockout 18 seconds into the second round. It was just a little over 2 years ago to the date in Madison Square Garden. Fast forward after two additional wins to November 12th, which is 1 year ago, the day that I'm recording this recap, in, you guessed it, Madison Square Garden. Alex Pereira got the opportunity to dethrone Israel Adesanya, to make this story continue or maybe come full circle. And what does he do? In the fifth and final round, 2 minutes in, he knocks out Adesanya to become the middleweight champion of the world. Shocked the world. A lot of people, were thinking, well, it's MMA. Israel Adesanya is going to be able to get the upper hand, and he beats him. And then, fast forward one more year, almost to the exact day, November 11th, 2023, after losing the middleweight title in a rematch to Izzy, bumping up a weight class, beating former world champion Jan Blachowicz, Alex Pereira earned a shot at the vacant light heavyweight title to take on Jiri Prochazka, one of the most dangerous wild men we've seen in a long time in the light heavyweight division. And what does he do? He knocks out the former champion to become a double champ, a champ, a two-weight world champion, the ninth person in UFC history, which is 30 years ago today, on November 12th, the day I'm recording this, that the organization came to be known as the Ultimate Fighting Championship. You're going to be hard-pressed to find any other fighter in the history of the game that has done the things that Alex Pereira has done. In the amount of time in which he's done it is what makes it so much more incredible. At 36 years old, at middleweight, now at light heavyweight, it is a little easier to maintain success up in age. And so at this spot in his career, how much more is there that we're going to see? How much more history is there to be made from Alex Pereira? There could be a lot. Let's talk about this fight in specific. Very, very fun. As I kind of had anticipated, edge of your seat, tips of your toes type of action. Big shots being landed by both, but so methodical and just slow plodding at the same time. It was a very beautiful fight to watch for the 9 minutes that we got to do it. Alex landed some big shots in round one, had Jiri hurt. Jiri finished with a big takedown and some ground and pound and some ground control time. A lot of people felt that Jiri had ended up getting round one. I could have seen it going either way. Round two, much of the same without the grappling, though. Very closely contested on the feet. Jiri landed a few more shots on the feet than he did in round one. Had Alex, kind of on the back foot a little bit in that round. Alex lands a beautiful right counter followed by a left counter, drops Jiri. Jiri shoots in for the takedown, though, to try and keep his wits about him. Alex lands short elbows right to the temple. I believe they said it was something like 16 straight consecutive unanswered shots. Jiri kind of drops his arms, eyes go shut, look like he had kind of went out, falls backward, kind of comes to, but it was too little, too late before Mark Goddard stepped in. A lot of people were a little iffy on the stoppage, felt it was a little quick for a world title fight, but it kind of got cleared up in the aftermath. Jiri Prochazka, being the utmost respectful mixed martial artist that he is, admitted he was out. It was a good stoppage. It was fine. And I'll just say for Yuri, his future is still very bright. He is someone that everybody tunes in to watch fight, and he's only had 4 UFC fights. I mean, he had quite an illustrious rise to stardom and championship caliber, unlike we had really seen before as well. I mean, in his 3rd UFC fight, he became the world champion. So let us not forget all of the special things he's done in just a few short fights in a couple of years as well. So Yuri will bounce back for sure. There's not another person that I see in MMA right now that respects the tradition and heritage of combat sports, of mixed martial arts more than Jiri Prochazka. He is literally like embodies the spirit of a fighter, and that samurai warrior like mentality and respect. It's unbelievable to watch the way that he presents himself and carries himself. But the night belongs to the now new light heavyweight champion, Alex Pereira. And what could be next? He called for a fight with Israel Adesanya, a trilogy in the UFC, that is, up at 205 pounds. And that would be cool. That'd be cool. That'd be cool and dandy. They're one apiece in the UFC, get the tiebreaker up a weight class at 205. But I don't know. This is where it gets interesting, this conversation, because I felt that when Izzy had reclaimed the middleweight title and beat Alex, I was like truthfully okay with it being one apiece. I feel like that was just a good ending to the chapter. Alex got the upper hand in kickboxing. They go even in, the UFC, but, Alex doesn't want to fight at middleweight anymore. He went up to 205. It just felt like a good way to end that chapter of that rivalry. And Israel has since lost the middleweight championship to Sean Strickland, has since said that he wants to have a very long layoff. He was super active. Him and Volkanovski, 2 of the most active champions we've seen in quite some time. And, it's a much deserved layoff that Israel wants to have. So would I be fine with him just getting a crack at the 205-pound title for what would be his second attempt? Sure, I would be, and I would understand the UFC in making that decision and in doing so. But I don't know. I don't have a ton of interest in seeing it because I want to see Alex take on new, fresh faces, especially at a new weight class. But this is where the problem comes in, right? I don't have, a ton of interest in him and Izzy going at it again. But let's look at the light heavyweight division. Alexander Rakic is coming back from injury and getting his rematch in the fight that had happened with Jan Blachowicz. Looks like it's going to happen in January. I believe they posted the whole card last night during the broadcast. It's at UFC 297 in Toronto, Canada. So you have the number 4 ranked Jan Blachowicz versus the number 5 ranked Alexander Rakic, right? Okay, so that's good. All fine and dandy. And it seems, and Johnny Anik alluded to this after the broadcast, that Johnny Walker and Magomed Ankalaev a couple weeks back kind of had the fight end in a dud where there was a no contest, illegal knee or strikes. I forget what type of illegal strike it was, but there was an illegal strike that caused the fight to be stopped. That's number 2 Ankalaev versus number 7 Walker. Apparently they're wanting to make it a 5-round main event early in 2024 for a fight night. So that's 2 and 7, 4 and 5. Jamal Hill tore his Achilles in July. Gotta imagine he won't be ready until at least July of 2024. And that's probably being generous. We don't see a lot of torn Achilles injuries in mixed martial arts. So we don't have a lot to base it off of in terms of recovery time or how do fighters look post, torn or ruptured Achilles, if you will. So if I'm Jamal Hill, I'm taking all the time I need to make sure I'm 100% or as close to 100% recovered and back to normal as I can be before I go and take on Alex Pereira. So, you look at all of that and the way the division is, maybe Israel Adesanya fight makes the most sense. When are they going to want to turn Alex around? Are they going to want to look to have him on that big UFC 300 card? I had originally called for Strickland and Chimaev for the middleweight title to headline that card, but we now know that Strickland is headlining in January on that same card with Blachowicz and Rakic. So I doubt he'll be able to turn around again in April and fight Khamzat Chimaev. Do we do Alex Pereira versus Izzy? The trilogy fight at 205 pounds for the belt at UFC 300? That's definitely looking like a possibility for sure because of the rest of the division. If Blachowicz and Rakic aren't fighting until January, they probably aren't turning around in April. If Ankalaev and Walker are fighting in January or February, they're probably not turning around in April. Maybe they looked to do Pereira and Izzy at UFC 300. Now, the Schmo did tweet last night that he's hearing Chandler and McGregor could potentially be the headliner in April for UFC 300, but we'll get more into that as the time goes by and if we actually hear anything on that. So give me all of your thoughts. What do you think makes the most sense? What do you want to see next for Alex Pereira and just in general for the light heavyweight division as these four fighters kind of get their drama settled, get their fight settled, as Jamal Hill recovers from his ruptured Achilles? What do you think makes the most sense? Pereira versus Izzy 3 at light heavyweight for the 205-pound title. Does Pereira get a little bit of a break as well from being a super active fighter and just wait and see those four fighters clear up their kind of circumstances? Does he wait all the way until Jamal Hill is ready to go in the summer or fall time? And I want to know what you guys think. If you enjoyed this recap and if you enjoyed the fights on Saturday night, be sure to drop a like on this video. Subscribe to the channel if you are new so you never miss a recap, a breakdown, MMA news, fight announcements, and everything in between. UFC 295 was absolutely incredible. This main event was unbelievable. The history, the career, the storylines that are built around Alex Pereira is unlike anything we've ever seen. Let me know what you think about him and all the drama at 205 pounds right now. And I'll see you in the heavyweight interim championship recap. Tom Aspinall and Sergey Pavlovich.